Okay, so we're going to start. This is the Enneagram Satsang. If there's more interest, if there's strong interest, we may do more Enneagram Satsangs because we both use it a lot. Ananda Devi actually is better at it with coaching clients, students than I am. So she's actually more the expert than I am. And we discussed the format. So probably, I think what we're going to do is she's going to talk about her experience with students, etc. And then I'm going to come in after that with a different approach, which is basically how you can approach the Enneagram step by step, because there's so much confusion. And I've just, in typical Enneagram 5 manner, have condensed it down to what I think is the quintessence of how to approach the Enneagram to cut out all that noise and tremendous amount of distraction about personality, Enneagram. This is not the Enneagram of personality. What we're talking about today is the Enneagram of awakening.
Yeah. Okay, so firstly, everyone's type is perfect, although I'm not going to be discussing the perfections today. I'm going to be discussing the blind spots. Those are the things that matter within your type. So just to go over the beauty of the Enneagram, and I'm very simple, and I will know an Enneagram type within a few minutes. I'm usually right. Sometimes I'm wrong, but and sometimes I'm right and they don't know that they're wrong, but we discover that along the way. I pick up on it really quickly. It's intuitive. It becomes intuitive when you know what to look for more than anything else. So I don't like to come from books. I'm going to talk about my own personal experience with the various types. But to start off with, let me say that because each type is so fascinating and so wonderful, I like to call it, for example, the 1 is God's perfection. The 2 is God's helper. The 3 is God's performer. The 4 is God's romantic. The 5 is God's wisdom. The 6 is God's loyalist. The 7 is God's joy. And the 8 is God's challenger. And the 9 is God's peace. So that's from a positive point of view. We all have personalities, and our personalities never go away, regardless of what happens. You awaken to know that there is a separation between your essence, yourself. The essence is the fundamental, obviously, reason for awakening. The reason people want to awaken to begin with is because they have issues with their own Enneagram type, blind spots. And that's because they are not really seeing when the momentum begins to shift. Because until you actually recognize that your own personality, your own nature starts to give you warning signals, triggers that come up. It's like being stationed on top of a hill in San Francisco. Has anybody ever been to San Francisco? Have you seen how those hills just go flying down? In other words, when you are sitting on top of one of those hills and you get out your car and you put your handbrake down, what's going to happen to that car? If it's going down a hill, it'll start off slowly, build up momentum until finally it's just flying down that hill and crashes at the bottom, right? It is the same thing with your blind spots. Unless you're able to detect the triggers that you have because of your Enneagram type, you tend to go back into the same patterns over and over and over again. First, most students are in denial. They think, no, I want to awaken because I want to transcend my nature, my personality. I want to be above it all. I'm going to be an avatar. I'm going to bliss out. It's all about this and it's all about that. The opposite happens. When you awaken, you're human. You're here now, and these things still come up that you still have to address. The integration that happens post-awakening is where this work becomes, of course, the most beneficial. I will always be an 8, but I'm working on myself continuously. It's funny, I'll give you a beautiful example of this. When Ramaji and I met, in our arrogance, because we both met, here he is, he's this teacher and had been teaching for a while. And I had awakened a couple of years before. I was as arrogant as any 8. And we looked at each other, and after a while of being together, we kind of had a discussion saying, isn't it funny how we both thought we had reached the ceiling, but it was just another floor. In other words, meeting one another, challenging each other, discovering the things that you can only discover via relationships, via the interactions you have with people. That brought out the 5-ness that he had not yet seen in himself, and the 8-ness that I was not yet able to handle in myself. So the work continues, and the work continues. It doesn't mean we think we are our minds. It doesn't think we are our natures. We know the self. But what does it matter if you're not becoming a better human being?